Oh, come on. And we are live, Bina. We are live.
Yes. Hello and welcome to Bonus Culture. Good morning, Sil. Good morning, Brain, and good morning to everyone who is going to watch us live and will watch us recorded later on YouTube, Substack, Instagram, yes, Facebook, many platforms we are actually using.
Oh, we start to be
Welcome
live.
everyone to Bonus Culture. Yes, so you were saying so.
Yes. Welcome to Bonus Club. Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely.
welcome
Yes,
to Bonus Culture.
yes,
Yes, we are
yes,
here,
yes.
and what we are
Welcome,
busy
welcome,
with.
welcome.
Yes, what we are busy with, it's a huge project we have. We are busy with doing the capital R reading of Carlos Castaneda's books about Don Juan. And we are on book two, and we are doing this capital R reading. Capital R reading in itself, for all the newcomers who are joining us on TikTok, Instagram, and of course in the group also. Capital R reading is a term for from way of impeccability and Modernist Project also. We use this process of doing the capital R reading just not to read only the story, incidents, or what has been said in words, but connecting with
Yeah,
the intent, and of course going beyond just the words, just the incidents, because connecting with the energy, connecting with the intent, and connecting with the awareness what they are sharing. So connecting it with the bigger picture, this is what the capital R reading process is. And also capital R reading cannot be complete if we are not able to extract value out of it. It is useless to do and read and go in depth, because if at the end of the reading, if I have found some changes in my awareness, some positive valuable changes in my awareness, if if in some way it has transformed my life in a more positive way, if I am a better person, even if just a little bit, this is the real reason for doing the capital R reading. And this is what we make sure that every single time when we are doing capital R reading of anything or anyone, we have to make sure that we are getting some value which is implementable, practically applicable in our life to make it better. Better, I'm using this word for to be more aware, to be able to make deliberate choices, to
yeah,
not just go random with the life. No, making
yeah.
it, be more empowered, be more aware, be more conscious, and be more impeccable. This is the reason of doing the capital R reading. And what we are doing, capital R reading of Carlos Castaneda's books about Don Juan, is with a very specific intent to connect with Don Juan.
Yeah.
Because for us, according to Sil, he is sharing different mediums, but the real basic core and the foundation is to share moreness. He was not using these words, he was not saying it out clearly, but if we look at it closely and we observe it, we will understand that all the mediums, allies, power plants, and other things, they all were geared to bring moreness into your life, to go beyond
Yeah.
the obvious, go beyond the mundane. So this is what we are doing. We are busy with capital R reading. So if you guys are joining us, please do leave a comment, because this is something, it's a technical issue. We need that. Also that deliberate choices, what actually makes us not leaving a comment or not asking a question? What is the hesitation for? I personally feel that asking question is something as a human right, basic human right. I feel that, because if I'm asking question,
Yeah.
I am practically sharing with you that you are valuable, your thoughts, your perspective, and whatever you have shared with me, I am paying attention to it. I might not be agree with that, which is of course not necessary and not needed. I might not be agree, but I am paying attention. And attention is the new currency in the future world. And of course, right now also. Be very wise where you are spending your currency. Attention is the new currency. Really keep it in mind. And when we are doing this, When we ask
Oh yeah.
question, it means that I am taking a pause from all other things and paying you attention, due attention, impeccable attention, and asking you question because I want to know more about it. So I am not only just asking a question, it is not just in a very isolated way. Asking question always have multiple effects because when I ask you a question, I am providing you, I'm creating a space for you to share more because I
Oh,
want to have more. Even if I'm confused, even if I don't agree with that, it doesn't make any, it doesn't matter. But I am, by
oh,
asking a question, I am providing you a space to share more. When we look at it, things and questions, especially like this, we will not get offended by questions. Never. We will always see, oh, yes, someone is just
never.
providing opportunity. And this concept only can transform your relationships because people do mostly how all the arguments starts. Oh, you were asking me this, which means that okay, I have done something. No, because the other person was providing you and creating a space for you to
Oh,
share more because they are taking
ah,
interest.
exactly. Very powerful,
Questions
Bina.
are
Very
love
powerful.
notes. Questions are the love notes from the universe, and we love to receive love notes from the universe. Thank you so much, Sir, for giving me this time. And I assume that okay, you are done with all your sharing. Then we can start doing the capital R reading of.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just waiting to finish updating on Facebook to post to the
Okay,
page.
okay,
It's
okay.
just
No
going
problem, no
very
problem.
slowly.
Okay. So far, my
Yeah.
experience with Don Juan, because from the training you can say that from the understanding from way of impeccability and border culture, my mind has tuned to see and perceive and understand with very keen interest and eagerness to understand the value, not the content only. Because the content, of course, in the book
There you
uh,
go.
can, of course, we can vary, and sometimes culturally you don't understand that why they are doing this, why they are investing so much time and energy into these type of things, because these things are alien to me. I might not be aware of the value what they are receiving. Of course, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I might
Yeah.
not
And
use
the
all
key
those
is
media.
to extract,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, and create value. Yes,
Yes.
create value.
Yes.
I was
Yes.
sharing a story with Bina about creating value and more, and also about the world does not work the way we think it does. All
Yes.
goes in. And also it goes to expectations, habits, and just assuming stuff for no good reason. So I was we were buying some gifts for somebody, and oh, somebody's plural. Anyway, and we're just looking. It was younger people, so looking at games and fun things. And this came up in my mind, and I shared to Bina the story. Right, playing Monopoly
Mm.
with my brother. My brother had the
Yes.
genius idea, first of all, to increase the amount of money that you get given to start with, right? And then you
Mm.
increase, go past two, 200, and you go past, go, no, 400, 600, 800, whatever. And just increase the amount of money. And the reason for this is it makes the game go faster. Otherwise, Monopoly can take a very long time. But then he added one more genius idea, yeah, or change.
Mm.
Yeah? And he said that
Yes.
when the last property gets bought of a set, there has to be an auction if the same person doesn't own it, and one person must end up owning the set. Right? If you land on it and somebody else has got the others, you don't have to buy it. You can leave it up to them to buy it, or you can buy it and then there's an auction. And right, either you can end up with the whole set, or you can sell yours. Anyway, and the value of this was it made the game now between property and cash. And you had to choose, right?
Mm.
Which one is there. Oh, very cool. So there are a lot of psychology then becomes involved in the game. But but the point that I was making to Bina is that what happened in this when my brother first proposed this, I was quite young, and I like internally, I didn't say it to him because I updated immediately. I was like, wow, I was quite shocked that he would think to change the rules of the game. Yeah, we lived in a society where rules and obedience was everything. But then immediately I'm like, oh, why can't we? But I remember being a bit shocked, which was really cool. That to and then overcome that and not be affected by that. But I realized that I was inadvertently in that mindset. I didn't even know that I was in this mindset to be this. So very powerful. And I'll bet you even today, if you propose changing the rules to, no, you can't do that. Those are the rules. You can't change it. Why can't you? Why can't we change the rules of a game? Is there any absolute reason why we can't? No, none whatsoever. All right, so I make my own game and I call it Myopoly. All right, now it's my game with my rules. Now that's okay. Okay, it's copying Monopoly, but it's Myopoly. You see what I mean? Some that's okay if I make my own game. Yeah. Anyway, I'm making the point of how we think, and our thinking can be, and beliefs and ideas, behaviors, attitudes can be very restricted for no good reason whatsoever, just because of default. Yeah, and
Yes.
this the point I said is when we're reading Don Juan, it's also to extract value and to understand from Don Juan that Don Juan is saying, hey, yeah, are different rules that you can play by. And Carlos struggles because he's got that default. No, this is how the world works. The rules are like this. And he can't understand that there can be other rules. And also, it's not specifically mentioned here, but you can make up your own rules. Play however you want to play life. Yeah. And this is
Hmm.
Mourner's culture. This is exactly what Mourner's culture is. It is a different set of criteria. There aren't even rules. That's what makes Mourner's culture so magical. Yeah. It's criteria, it's ways of being, it's open, it's fluid, it's not restrictive. It's the very opposite of rule logic. Yeah. That's why it's Mourners. It's very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. We are so restricted, we don't even realize it. Yeah. Very, very,
Yes.
very important. Yeah. All right. We are continuing with Don Juan and uh, where he is, where is where is sharing his experience that he had at the mitote, where he didn't take peyote, he was just serving water, but he nonetheless had a experience, right? Um, I'm trying to find the exact spot here. Here we go. So I related to Don Juan the sequence of my astounding vision. Let me screen share. Screen share. And hello, everybody on TikTok, by the way. I didn't mean to not say hello, but there's a whole lot of you. Normally, I like to greet people by name, but there are too many of you. So I'll just wave at those that I don't know. Some of you, it says say hi next to your name, and others not. So I don't know. I don't know how that works. Why for some and others not? But anyway, hello, everybody. Always happy to have you here. Always happy to have you here. And please feel free to ask questions. Feel free to comment. Leave a like. That's very much appreciated. And we don't do this to get likes. We do this to share. We do this for our own personal reasons. However, TikTok makes it difficult to share. They got criteria, and they want people to like, right? So, all right, I mean, if you don't mind, I would appreciate it very much if you leave me a like. It would help. It would help with TikTok so that I can continue to live stream on TikTok. All right, brilliant, 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 brilliant. And here we go to continue our reading. I'm very keen to see what Don Juan. I remember this. I've read these books many times, but I'm keen to share the Don Juan's perspective on Carlos's experience, where he had this realization that his mother's love was a massive burden. Yes. I
Yes.
think he said the horror of it, actually, right? If I remember correctly, the word he used, right, Bina?
The horrendous burden of something.
Ah,
Yeah.
horrendous. Yes, 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 yes. Uh, Oh, I'm trying to set the age so that it goes, but it's not doing it the way it was before. All right, there we go. All right, so it shows a bigger image there. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. All right. So Bina, we're going to read now. You're going to read with me, yes? Are you okay with
Okay,
that?
yes,
And then we'll
yes.
read with the dialogue again, right? So start here. I related to Don Juan.
I related to Don Juan the sequence of my astounding vision almost as soon as he got into my car. He laughed with great delight and said that my vision was a sign, an omen as important as my first experience with Mescalito. I remembered that Don Juan had interpreted the reactions I had when I first ingested peyote as an all important omen. In fact, he decided to teach me his knowledge because of it. Don Juan said that during the last night of the mitote, Mescalito had hovered over me so obviously that everyone was forced to turn toward me. And that was why he was staring at me when I looked at him. I wanted to hear his interpretation of my vision, but he did not want to talk about it. He said that whatever I had experienced was nonsense in comparison to the omen. Don Juan kept on talking about Mescalito's light hovering over my head and how everyone had seen it.
That was really something. I couldn't possibly ask for a better omen.
Don Juan and I were obviously on two different avenues of thought. He was concerned with the importance of the events he had interpreted as an omen, and I was obsessed with the details of the vision I had had. I
Oh,
don't care about omens. I want to know what happened to me. He frowned as if he were upset and remained very stiff and quiet for a moment. Then he looked at me. His, his tone was very forceful. He said that the only important issue was that Mescalito had been very gentle with me, had engulfed me with his light, and had given me a lesson with no other effort on my part than being around.
yeah, that's a bonus one there, right? I mean, look, the other participants, they had to spend 4 nights and go through all this, take the peyote buttons, which aren't very nice to do, and ingest them, and keep singing their songs. I'm making a lot of effort, almost like begging for Mescalito to come. And yeah, he comes to Carlos without doing anything, right? And it's amazing when we look at this, the omen rather than an anomaly, or you could say a communication from the universe. Yeah. When we look at it in that sense, because I don't care about omens, because to him omens are like superstition, really. But when you rephrase it, reframe it, and put it into a different context, and when you understand that an anomaly is a profound communication of something of significance, you can't ignore it, right? So it's very important, the difference. It's why I prefer that change of language. Yes. Yeah. All right. So
Yes.
this is just, I
Also,
mean, look at it from a point of view. It's not very difficult to understand. Michelito comes and it's hovering over, it's paying attention to Carlos. And it's there with him. It's like, okay, you're not doing anything, but Mescalito's coming to you. It's got to be significant, right? Like just
yes.
in that, it's like, wow, okay, bonus. All right, please continue, Bina. Please continue.
Okay. On September 4th, 1968, I went to Sonora to visit Don Juan. Following a request he had made during my previous visit to him, I stopped on the way in Hermosillo, okay, to buy him
Yeah.
a non-commercial tequila called Bacanora. His request, pardon me,
Baka.
Bacanora. Okay, that's why I was like, okay, yes. His request seemed very odd to me at the time, since I knew he disliked drinking. But I bought 4 bottles and put them in a box along with other things I had brought for him.
Why? You got 4 bottles.
He said, laughing when he opened the
I
box.
asked you to buy me one. Sorry. I asked you to buy me one. I believe you thought the Bacanora was for me, but it's for my grandson, Lucio. And you have to give it to him as though it's a personal gift of your own.
I had met Don Juan's grandson 2 years before. He was 28 years old then. He was very tall, over 6 feet, and was always extravagantly well dressed for his means and in comparison to his peers. While the majority of Yakis wear hakis and Levi's, straws, hats, and homemade sandals called guarachs.
Guarachi.
Guarachs.
Yeah.
Yes, garages. Lucio's outfit was an expensive black leather jacket with frills of turquoise beads and a Texan cowboy hat. Oh, and a pair of boots that were monogrammed and hand decorated. Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow. Very fancy. Very fancy. Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
very fancy.
Yeah.
Lucy was delighted to receive the liquor and immediately took the bottles inside his house, apparently to put them away. Don Juan made a casual comment that one should never hoard liquor and drink alone. Lucio said he was not really hoarding, but was putting it away until that evening, at which time he was going to invite his friends to drink with him. That evening, around 7 o'clock, I returned to Lucio's place. It was dark. I made out the vague, uh, what is the word still here?
Silhouette.
Silhouette, okay. The vague silhouette of two people standing under a small tree. It was Lucio and one of his friends who were waiting for me and guided me to the house with a flashlight. Lucio's house was a flimsy 2 room, dirt floor, wattle and daubed construction. It was perhaps 20 feet long and supported by relatively thin beams of the mesquite, mesquite tree. Okay. It had, as all the houses of the Yakis have, a flat, thatched roof and a 9 foot wide ramada, which is a sort of awning over the entire front part of the house. A ramada roof is never thatched. It is made of branches arranged in a loose fashion, giving enough shade and yet permitting the cooling breeze to circulate freely. As I entered the house, I turned on my tube recorder, okay, which I kept
Yeah. Tape.
inside.
It's meant to be tape. Typo.
Yes, I
Yeah.
have like tube, yeah, tape recorder, which I kept inside my briefcase. Lucio introduced me to his friends. There were 8 men outside the house, including John Juan. They were sitting casually around the center of the room under the bright light of gasoline lantern that hung from a beam. Don Juan was sitting on a box. I sat facing him at the end of a 6 foot bench made of a thick wooden beam nailed on 2 prongs planted in the ground. Don Juan placed,
Bina, 1 second here. 1 second here.
yes,
Just something
yes,
that was on my mind since that came up, right? They
yes,
went on a 1,000-mile journey to go to the Metote, right? The
mhm,
Metote that with Mocho this time, right?
yes,
Uh, and, and there's no indication ever that Don Juan has electricity. Like in this case, they don't have electricity either, and one would
yeah,
assume not a phone either. Yeah.
hmm, yes,
So how was that arrangement made? 1,000 miles away.
wow,
Now, I
yes,
would assume that not everybody's without electricity or a phone, and maybe through third or fourth parties. But still, it's still an interesting question, don't you think?
yes,
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty far away to go. Travel 1,000 miles. It's quite astonishing. Just
yes, yes,
implications. Anyway, just that's part of capital R reading is look at the implications. Yes. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Don Juan at place.
yes, very interesting.
Yeah.
Don Juan had placed his head on the floor beside him. The light of the gasoline lantern made his short white hair look more brilliantly white. I looked at his face. The light had also enhanced the deep wrinkles on his neck and forehead and made him look darker and older. I looked at the other men under the greenish white light of the gasoline lantern. All of them looked tired and old. Lucio addressed the whole group in Spanish and said in a loud voice that we were going to drink one bottle of Bacanora that I had brought for him from Hermosillo. He went into the other room, brought out a bottle, uncorked it, and gave it to me along with a small tin cup. I poured a very small amount into the cup and drank it. The Bacanora seemed to be more fragrant and more dense than regular tequila, and stronger too. It made me cough. I passed the bottle and everyone poured himself a small drink. Everyone except Don Juan. He just took the bottle and placed it in front of Lucio, who was at the end of the line. All of them made lively comment about the rich flavor of that particular bottle, and all of them agreed that the liquor must have come from the high mountains of Chihuahua. Chihuahua. Okay.
Chihuahua.
Yes. The bottle went around a second time. The men smacked their lips, repeated their statements of praise, and engaged themselves in a lively discussion about the noticeable difference between the tequila made around uh,
Guadalajara.
Guadalajara, Guadalajara,
Guadalajara.
Guadalajara, and it made a high, and that made at high altitude in Chihuahua. During the second time around, Don Juan again did not drink, and I poured only a dab for myself. But the rest, you have to scroll, sir. But the rest of them filled the cup to the brim. The bottle went around once more and was finished. Get the other bottles, Lucio, Don Juan said. Lucio seemed to select, and Don Juan quite casually explained to the others that I had brought 4 bottles to Lucio. Benito, a young man of Lucio's age, looked at the briefcase that I had placed inconspicuously behind me and asked as if I was
Inconspicuously.
inconspicuously
Mm.
behind me and asked if was a tequila salesman. Don Juan answered that I was not, and that I had really come to Sonora to see him. Carlos is learning about Mescalito, and I'm teaching him. Don Juan said. All of them looked at me
Oh,
and
I
smiled.
forgot. Sorry, I was supposed to read that. Carlos is learning about Mescalito, and I'm teaching him.
Yes. All of them looked
All
at
right,
me and
so
smiled.
Benigno, Bina,
Yes.
pay attention to Benigno here, right? This whole thing is a setup, really, by Don Juan. Don Juan is fishing.
Okay.
Yes, Don Juan is fishing, and we're going to see now what he's fishing for, right? So, yeah, it's a gesture from Don Juan. Don Juan is making a gesture toward Lucio. He's trying. We'll see. All right. Please continue.
All of them looked at me and smiled politely. Bejia, the woodcutter, a small thin
Bahia.
man.
In
Okay.
Spanish is pronounced like an
Bahia.
H. Yeah.
Okay. Bahia, the woodcutter, a small thin man with sharp features, looked at me fixedly for a moment, and then said that the storekeeper had accused me of being a spy from an American company that was planning to do mining in the Yaqui land. They all reacted as if they were indignant, okay, at such an accusation.
Indignant. Yeah.
Yes. Besides, they all resented the storekeeper, who was a Mexican or a Yori, as the Yaquis say. Lucio went into the other room and returned with another bottle of Bacanora. He opened it, poured himself a large drink, and then passed it around. The conversation drifted to the probabilities of the American company coming to Sonora and its possible effect on the Yaquis. The bottle went back to Lucio. He lifted it and looked at its contents to see how much was left. Tell him not to worry. Okay, sorry.
Ah,
It's
tell him
Lucio.
not to worry. Tell him you'll bring him more next time you come around.
I leaned over to Lucio and assured him that on my next visit I was going to bring him at least half a dozen bottles. At one moment, the topics of conversation seemed to wane away. Don turned to me and said loudly,
Why don't you tell the guys here about your encounters with Mescalito? I think it'll be much more interesting than this idle chat about what will happen if the American company comes to Sonora.
"Is Mescalito peyote, Grandpa?" Lucio asked curiously.
Some people call it that way. I prefer to call it Mescalito.
"That confounded thing causes madness," said Gennaro, a tall, husky, middle-aged man.
I think it's stupid to say that Mescalito causes madness, Don Juan said so. Because if that were the case, Carlos would be in a straitjacket this very moment instead of being here talking to you. He has taken it, and look at him. He is fine.
Bahia smiled and replied shyly, "Who can tell?" And everybody laughed.
I was laughing. Look at me then, Don Juan said. I've known Mescalito nearly all my life, and it has never hurt me.
Uh, okay, sorry. Uh, the man did not laugh, but it was obvious that they were not taking him seriously. On the other hand, okay,
On the other, uh, on the other hand, it's true that Mescalito drives people crazy, as you said, but that's only when they come to him without knowing what they are doing.
Esquire, an old man who seemed to be Don Juan's age, chuckled softly as he shook his head from side to side. "What do you mean by knowing, Juan? The last time I saw you, you were saying the same thing. People go really crazy when they take that peyote stuff," Gennaro continued. "I have seen I don't know, this is the word, Sil. What is
Mucho.
Huichol? Okay. I have seen the Huichol Indians eating it. They acted as if they had rabies. They frothed and puked and pissed all over the place. You could get epilepsy from taking that confounded thing. That's what uh, Mr. Sales, the government engineer, told me once. And
Salas.
epilepsy, sorry, Salas.
It
Okay, Mr.
doesn't matter. It's
Salas.
Mr. Salas now.
Yeah, Mr. Salas, the government engineer, told me once. And epilepsy is for life, you know. That's being worse than animals. Yeah, added some. You saw
You
only what
only,
you.
it's me. It's Don Juan. You saw only what you wanted to see about the Uchol Indians, Gennaro, Don Juan said. For one thing, you never took the trouble of finding out from them what it's like to get acquainted with Mescalito. Mescalito has never made anyone epileptic to my knowledge. The government engineers Iori, and I doubt that Iori knows anything about it. You really don't think that all the thousands of people who know Mescalito are crazy, do you?
They must be crazy or pretty nearly so to do a thing like that, answered Gennaro.
But if all of those thousands of people were crazy at the same time, who would do their work? How would they manage to survive?
Macario, Macario, who comes from the other side, the USA, told me that whoever takes it there is marked for life, Esquire said.
Macario is lying if he says that. I'm sure he doesn't know what he's talking about.
He really tells too many lies, said Veneno. Who's Macario? He's a yucky Indian who lives here, Lucio said. He says he is from Arizona and that he was in Europe during the war. He tells all kind of stories. He says he was a colonel, Nino said.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone laughed, and the conversation shifted for a while to Macario's unbelievable tales. But Don Juan returned again the topic of Mescalito.
If all of you know that Macario is a liar, how can you believe him when he talks about Mescalito?
Do you mean peyote, Grandpa? Lucy asked, as if he were really struggling to make sense out of the term.
God damn it, yes.
Don Juan's tone was sharp and abrupt. Lucy recoiled involuntarily, and for a moment I felt they were all afraid. Then Don Juan smiled broadly and continued in a mild tone.
Don't you fellows see that Macario doesn't know what he's talking about? Don't you see that in order to talk about Mescalito, one has to know?
There you go again, Esco said. What the hell is this knowledge? You are worse than Macario. Macario, okay. You are worse than Macario. At least he says what's on his mind, whether he knows it or not. For years I have been listening to you. We have to know. What do we have to know? Don Juan says there is a spirit in peyote, Veneno said. I have seen
Benigno.
peyote, Benigno, okay. I have seen peyote in the field and I have never seen spirits or anything of the sort. Bahia added.
Mescalito is like a spirit, perhaps, but whatever he is doesn't become clear until one knows about him. Esquerra complains that I've been saying this for years. Well, I have, but it's not my fault that you don't understand. Bahia says that whoever takes it becomes like an animal. Well, I don't see it that way. To me, those who think they are above animals live worse than animals. Look at my grandson here. He works without rest. I would say he lives to work like a mule. All he does that is not animal-like is to get drunk. Poor Lucio getting a rough treatment from Don Juan here.
Where it is, sir? Just put the cursor there because it
Up at the
jumped.
top. Everybody laughed.
Okay. Everybody laughed. Victor, a very young man who seemed to be still in adolescence and laughed in a pitch above everyone else. Ligio, a young farmer, had not uttered a single word so far. He was sitting on the floor to my right with his back against some sacks of chemical fertilizers that had been piled inside the house to protect them from the rain. He was one of Lucio's childhood friends, powerful looking and although shorter than Lucio, more stocky and better built. Deligio seemed concerned about Don Juan's words. Bahia was trying to come back with a comment, but Eligio interrupted him. In what way would peyote change all this? He asked. It seemed to me that a man is born to work all his life like mules do.
Now here we come to a very crucial point, right? This is a really great conversation here. And what's really great about it is that even though Don Juan is obviously trying to get Lucio to do so, yeah, he is in an environment where he's got the full range of opinions about Mescalito. And those like Ganaro's and opinions, right, about the people being crazy and all that. that on someone like Lucio will be very influential. Yeah. So not the best group to inspire Lucio, but of course, when you go fishing, you don't always catch what you try to catch. Yes. So, but also this understanding the debate here, or at least, or getting where, why do it, right? Elisio's answer here, ask question here is very, very powerful, right? And Don Juan answers. He says, Mescalito changes everything. Yet we still have to work like everybody else, like mules. I said there was a spirit inside Mescalito because it is something like a spirit which brings about the change in men. A spirit we can see and can touch, a spirit that changes us, sometimes even against our will. Hina, where do you go?
Yes. I just missed that where you are.
Ah, yeah. Pt11 drives us, yeah.
Okay. Uh, Purity drives you out of your mind, Canaro said. And then, of course, you believe you have changed. True? How can it change us? Vega insisted.
He teaches us the right way to live. He helps and protects those who know him. The life you fellows are leading is no life at all. You don't know the happiness that comes from doing things deliberately. You don't
Wow.
have a protector. Ha, ha, ha. See the
Yes.
difference, right? Don Juan is saying, yes, you're still going to be working, but now you're going to be doing it deliberately. Plus, what Don Juan isn't saying here is that you will be connected to moreness. How will you be connected to moreness? Via a shift in your perception, a shift in your understanding, a shift thus in your appreciation. When you start to see things in a different context, in a different light, when you start to see the moreness and see how all of it is geared to enhancing you, your awareness, now doesn't matter what you do, because your physical actions may stay the same, but internally the consequence of that is learning, growing, enhanced awareness, enhanced appreciation, which leads to enhanced joy and moreness, right? You bringing all this into your life, which it wasn't there before. Same actions, different consequence. Yeah. Very,
Yes.
very powerful. So now we also see the power of conceptuality and communication. Don Juan is not really communicating all that well here. Yes, Bina?
Yes. Yes.
Right, right,
Yes. What do you mean?
right. So
Canaro said indignantly. Yeah, please continue. Sorry.
that's okay. There you go. Carry on.
Okay. We certainly have our Lord Jesus Christ and our Mother, the Virgin, and the little Virgin of Guadalupe.
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 Yeah, Guadalupe. Aren't they our protectors?
Fine bunch of protectors. Have they taught a better way to live?
That's because people don't listen to them. Naro protested, and they only pay attention to the devil.
Wow. If they were real protectors, they would force you to listen. If Mescalito becomes your protector, you will have to listen whether you like it or not, because you can see him and you must take heed of what he says. He will make you approach him with respect, not the way you fellows are accustomed to approach your protectors.
Wow. Because now the whole conversation is becoming very serious.
Oh
Not like,
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, and it's
yeah,
a very significant difference here, right? The one
yes,
is you get this information comes at you, and it's like whether or not you act on it, it's kind of up to you, right? I mean,
exactly.
and it's hit or miss. There's no real pressure on you to do so. But this is what Don
Yes,
Juan is saying. He doesn't say it in a very diplomatic way. I feel, right. Instead of saying forced to learn, Mescalito puts pressure on you to learn. Yeah, Obviously, you
Yes.
don't have to go connect to Mescalito if you don't want to. You have that choice. But you are choosing to engage in somebody who's going to leverage you, yes, and get you motivated to learn. And this is a wonderful gift, right? And in modern language, you could say Mescalito is going to act like the Fight Club logic, right? That whole Fight Club
Yes.
movie, remember? In 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 Fight Club, the guy was putting pressure on the other guy. He was forcing him to do things that he would never otherwise do. Yeah. And he said, "Look, this is the greatest gift for you. You now are being able to do things you never would have done without this pressure from me." Well, this is the same way, the same logic when it comes to Mescalito, right? That, but if you want to learn, of course, it's not an onerous pressure. It's only if you don't want to learn, then the pressure may be not so pleasant. Yeah? So there's a nuance here, I feel, that needs explaining. Yeah, that makes a
Yes.
difference. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If they were real protectors, they would force you to listen, Don said. If Mascalito becomes your protector, you will have to listen whether you like it or not, because you can see him and you must take heed of what he says. He will make you approach him with respect, not the way you fellows are accustomed to approach your protectors. What do you mean, Don Juan? Okay, Esper asked. What I mean is that for you to come to your protector means that one of you has to play a fiddle and a dancer has to put on his mask and legging and and rattles and dance, while the rest of you drink. You, Benino, you were a dancer once. Tell us about it. I gave it up after 3 years, Benino said. It's hard work. Ask Lucio. Esco said, uh, satirically. Okay. He gave it up in 1 week. Everybody laughed except on one. Lucio smiled, seemingly embarrassed, and gulped down 2 huge swallows of bacanora. It is not hard. It is stupid, Don Juan said. Wow. Ask Valencio, the dancer. If he enjoys dancing, he does not. He got accustomed to it. That's all. I have seen him dance for years, and every time I have seen the same movements badly executed. He takes no pride in his art except when he talks about it. He has no love for it. Therefore, years after years, he repeats the same motion. What was bad about his dancing at the beginning has become fixed. He cannot see it any longer. He was taught to dance that way, Kalika said. I was also a dancer. Uh, Still, it is getting blurred for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I scrolled too much now, I think. There we go. He was taught to dance that way, Eliseo said. I was also a dancer in the town of Torum. I know you must dance the way they teach you. All right, so what they're talking about here, Bina, is a
Yes.
combination of church, Roman Catholic Church, and a combination of traditional dancing with the rattles and the stuff, right? And kind of combined together with the religion and playing the violin and like the whole ceremony, right? And it's a very local custom for the church, right? A regular church, right? We're just talking about Virgin Mary and all that. But you say, yeah, but this isn't like regular stuff. Well, it's been customized for the local environment. Yeah. So this is what they're talking about, this whole rigmarole of going to church and the dances. And of course, were rules, like I said before, right? Teaching them to dance in this exact specific way. Yeah. And we're going to see Don Juan's comment about it in a moment here, right? Um, Yeah. What was bad about his dancing at the beginning has become fixed. He cannot see it any longer. He was taught to dance that way, Eliseo said. I was also a dancer in the town of Torum. I know you must dance the way they teach you. Valencio is not the best dancer anyway, Esquerra said. There are others. How about Zacatecas? Zacatecas is a man of knowledge. He is not in the same class with you fellows, Don Juan said sternly. He dances because that's the bent of his nature. All I wanted to say was that you, who are not dancers, do not enjoy it. Perhaps if the dances are well performed, some of you will get pleasure. Not many of you know that much about dancing, though. Therefore, you are left with a very lousy piece of joy. This is why you fellows are all drunkards. Look at my grandson here. Cut it out, Grandpa, Lucio protested. He's not lazy or stupid, Don Juan went on. But what else does he do besides drink? He buys leather jackets, Gennaro remarked, and the whole audience roared. Now, I, I don't know if this is the same Gennaro as Don Gennaro that we're going to meet later on, one of uh, Don Juan's party. And he has a very irreverent sense of humor. And he may very well just be saying all of this stuff and knowing, because he also understands Mescalito, of course, right? Just to play the fool and just to be contrary, right? It's quite possible. I don't know. We don't know. But this is Gennaro, not Don Gennaro. So, okay. Lucio gulped down more bacanora. And how is Peyote going to change that? Eliseo asked. If Lucio would seek the protector, his life would be changed. I don't know exactly how, but I'm sure it would be different. He would stop drinking. Is that what you mean? Eliseo insisted. Perhaps he would. He needs something else besides tequila to make his life satisfying. And that something, whatever it may be, might be provided by the protector. Then peyote must taste very good, Eliseo said. It is absolutely fascinating to me, yes, how such trivialities are an issue in people's brains. It's very important to understand psychology. When you look at from the overview perspective, what does the taste got anything to do with it? Yes, right. But this is it's a point here that Eliseo brings up, right? Fascinating. I didn't say that, Don Juan said. Yeah. How in the hell are you going to enjoy it if it doesn't taste good? Eliseo said. It makes one enjoy life better, Don Juan said. You see, again, communication. It is not the act itself of taking peyote, it's not eating it like food that makes you happy. It is the consequence. It's what comes from that. You're going to meet Mescalito. Mescalito is going to guide you, teach you, inspire you, put pressure on you, leverage you, transform you, change you. Yeah. This is the difference with Mescalito and other teachings, is that it gets done to you. You simply have to be there and partake. Yeah, it's a very different thing. Yeah, it makes one enjoy life better. But if it doesn't taste good, how could it make us enjoy our lives better? Eliseo persons. It doesn't make sense. Of course, it makes sense, Gennaro, with conviction. Peyote makes you crazy, and naturally, you think you're having a great time of your life, no matter what you do. They all laughed again. It does make sense. Don Juan proceeded, undisturbed. Yes. If you think how little we know and how much there is to see, booze is what makes people crazy. It blurs the images. Mescalito, on the other hand, sharpens everything. It makes you see so very well, so very well. Lucio and Benigno looked at each other and smiled as though they had already heard the story before. Gennaro and Esquerra grew more impatient and began to talk at the same time. Victor laughed above all the other voices. The only one interested seemed to be Eliseo. How can Peyote do all that? In the first place, Don Juan explained, you must want to become acquainted with him, and I think this is by far the most important thing. Intent. Intent. Not just desire, but intent. Yes? To me, the distinction here needs to be made. You can't want it because want can be for all sorts of reasons. And but intent, when you intend something, that's a serious commitment. And typically there's a depth that goes with intent. Yeah. So you must intend it and it must be important to you. Yeah. This is very key. Must be important to you. You must want to become acquainted with him. And I think this is by far the most important thing. Then you must be offered to him. And you must meet with him many times before you can say you know him. And what happens then? Elisha asked. Canaro interrupted. You crap on the roof with your ass on the ground. He certainly, this Canaro, has the same sense of humor as the other one. The audience roared. What happens next is entirely up to you. Don Juan went on without losing his self-control. You must come to him without fear, and little by little, he will teach you how to live a better life. There was a long pause. The men seemed to be tired. The bottle was empty. Lucio, with obvious reluctance, opened another. Is Peyote Carlos's protector too? Elisha asked in a joking tone. I wouldn't know that, Don Juan said. He has taken it 3 times, so ask him to tell you about it. They all turned to me curiously, and Elisha asked, Did you really take it? Yes, I did. It seemed Don Juan had won around with his audience. They were either interested in hearing about my experience or too polite to laugh in my face. Didn't it hurt your mouth? Lucio asked. It did. It also tasted terrible. Why did you take it then? Benigno asked. You see the difference, Bina? It's really fascinating how petty trivialities can be seen to be the issue. It's all the bubble of context, right? They focused on step 1 of the issue, but there's more to it. It's just anyway. Why did you take it then? Benigno asked. I tried to explain to them in elaborate terms that for a Western man, Don Juan's knowledge about peyote was one of the most fascinating things one could find. I said that everything he had said about it was true, and that each one of us could verify that for ourselves. I noticed that all of them were smiling as if they were concealing their contempt. I grew very embarrassed. I was aware of my awkwardness in conveying what I really had in mind. I talked for a while longer, but I had lost the impetus and only repeated what Don Juan had already said. Don Juan came to my aid and added in a reassuring tone, You were not looking for a protector when you first came to Mescalito, were you? I told them that I did not know that Mescalito could be a protector, and that I was moved only by my curiosity and a great desire to know him. Don Juan reaffirmed that my intentions had been faultless, said that because of it, Mescalito had had a beneficial effect on me. But it made you puke and piss all over the place, didn't it? Canaro insisted. Canaro, cut it out, man. I told him that that it had in fact affected me in such a manner. They all laughed at the straight. I felt that they had become even more contemptuous of me. They didn't seem to be interested, except for Elisha, who was gazing at me. What did you see? He asked. Don Juan urged me to recount for them all or nearly all the salient points of my experience. So I described the sequence and the form of what I had perceived. When I'd finished talking, Lucio made a comment. If peyote is that weird, I'm glad I've never taken it. It is just like I said, Canaro said to Bahia. That thing makes you insane. But Carlos is not insane now. How do you account for that? Don Juan asked Canaro. How do we know he isn't? Gennaro retorted. How do we know you aren't, Gennaro? No? They all broke out laughing, including Don Juan. Were you afraid? Benigno asked. I certainly was. Why did you do it then? Elisha asked. He said he wanted to know, Lucia answered for me. I think Carlos is getting to be like my grandpa. Both have been saying they want to know, but nobody knows what in hell they want to know. Yes, and this is a flaw in their explanation here. Right? They really need to elaborate on this concept of knowing and what it means. Yes, I mean, if you just say to be more aware, well, then you can say if they come and say, well, what do you mean be more aware? How does that help you? Well, when you were a kid and you bumped around and you had no clue about what was going on, you became more aware and you got to be more competent in life, right? But it just seems to stop when we're adults. We think we're aware and we really aren't, right? You're still stumbling around like a child, right? A very small child. And so this is what this knowing means, right? Understanding how things work, connecting, feeling more, yes, appreciating, etc. Anyway, I won't elaborate too much on that, but you get the idea, right? But no one knows what in the hell they want to know. It is impossible to explain that knowing, Don Juan said to Elisha. because it is different for every man. And here's the key, see, with language of conceptuality. Yes, the details are different for every person, but in the abstract, when you start to use abstract conceptuality, you can say how it is the same for everybody. Yes, they connect to moreness, they're connecting to appreciation, they're connecting to discernment, to understanding. Yes, they're connecting to deliberateness, they're connecting to motivation. All of these are powerful, powerful, life-changing points. Yeah? See what I mean? Conceptuality, very important. Yeah, Bina? Makes sense?
Yes, yes.
And look who joined us on TikTok. Juan joined us. Hello, Juan.
Mm.
Very cool. Right. Yeah. Uh, it is impossible to explain that knowing, Don Juan said to Eliseo, because it is different for every man. The only thing which is common to all of us is that Mescalito reveals his secrets privately to each man. Being aware of how Gennaro feels, I don't recommend that he meet Mescalito. Yet, in spite of my words or his feelings, Mescalito could have a totally beneficial effect on him. But only he could find out, and that is the knowing I have been talking about. Don Juan got up. It's time to go home. Lucio is drunk and Victor is asleep. 2 days later, on September 6th, Lucio, Benigno, and Eliseo came over to the house where I was staying to go hunting with me. They remained silent for a while as I kept on writing my notes. Then Benigno laughed politely as a warning that he was going to say something important. After a preliminary embarrassing silence, he laughed again and said, Lucio here says he would take peyote. Would you really? I asked. Yes, I wouldn't mind it. Benigno's laughter came in spurts. Lucio says he will eat peyote if you buy him a motorcycle. Can you imagine what would happen if this were to be this, Bina?
Nope. I don't want to.
Right. It would be a disaster. I mean, Mescalito is going to smack him on the head a bunch of times. He'll be giving him
Exactly.
a very hard time. Yeah,
Yes.
it's just totally crazy, right?
Yes.
Uh, right, let's see where this. Okay. Oh, there's still a lot to the story then. All right. Okay. I thought
Okay.
that
Okay.
might end here. So we will leave it here because this
Yes.
this is this Don Juan comes in on us, right? And it's an important point. So we'll leave it here for today. We'll leave it here for
Okay.
today. Brilliant. 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 Brilliant.
Okay. We will
I love
continue
that
from
you
this
all are
tomorrow.
on TikTok, by the way. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah. Yeah. Please
Yes. Thank you
comment
so
and,
much.
and ask
Yes.
questions.
Thank you so much for joining, and also please leave a comment because we are learning this new platform. We are new. I have okay. I have an account, but I don't know how to use it. So it will be a great help if you guys will start
Yeah.
commenting. Then we will try to comment back, and of course acknowledge. We always do that. And if you have a question, then it will be more beneficial for us, as we
Yeah.
always say. Love notes are the love notes are the sorry. Let questions are the love notes of the universe. Pardon me. Anyway,
Yeah.
what is happening there? Okay, I'm not trying to uh, imagine anything specific, but I'm saying that because I have that trust that Don Juan is not someone who just mock things and okay try to create a drama or something. He's a sensible man, so so he is doing it for purpose. And when I was just listening to this story and also reading, that trust was continuously in my mind. Why I'm sharing this? Because capital T trust is really a magic. When you are not limiting anyone into any specific persona or anything, but still you trust them that things will make sense later. Exactly when you
Yeah.
don't know how to drive and you are sitting in car and your friend or your spouse or your parents or whoever is driving the car, you just sit there because you know that. You also know that yes, accidents do happen. You also know that okay, things can change, but still you trust. You don't try to hold the steering. You don't try to put your foot on the brake also or hold that. No,
Yeah.
but that is the trust that yes, if someone is doing something, even if it is like that, and just okay, set aside the parents or someone known is doing that. When we do fly by airplanes, we know that it can crash. We know that accidents do happen. We don't know that person, but that is the trust. We are aware of everything. There is a possibility, but still we trust. This is what capital T trust is. Of course, it has moreness to it, but just to have some sort of
Yeah.
idea of capital T trust. And why I'm mentioning this, because Carlos there sitting, Don Juan there, and of course his grandson. But the capital T trust. This is something what I want to experience between Carlos and Don Juan. This
Yeah.
is something I'm looking
Yeah.
for. So I don't know what is going to happen, but capital T trust really stabilize this world. It actually just make
Yeah.
your relations happen, make any relation happen, and make it
Yeah.
really worthwhile to have any kind of, from the briefest relation to the
Yeah.
most amazing one. Capital T trust, capital T trust is again such a profound concept from way of impeccability for newcomers who are not aware of it.
Yes.
Uh, Whenever you have something, please, I would encourage you to, if you cannot join us, you can of course just buy a book and see. Just from Ask Vienna, you can see that you will have get idea, a lot of ideas about capital T trust also. So, and the books are coming.
Yes.
Yes, you can do that too.
Oh,
Thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you guys on Sunday.
yes. Bye bye, everybody. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Wonderful. Wonderful.
As we were doing before, only waste.
Drive.
As we were as we were doing it before only. Are reading or we use this are reading or we use this process of doing the capillarity just not to read only.
Well, give me 22, yeah.
Active. Drive active. Our reading, or we use this process of Tuesday. Drive active.